All right, so I'm taking a look at something that I was just informed about in my Twitch stream, that there was an extended Q&A on the hitting and pitching video premiere that they did last week that I never saw. I had no idea about this. I just was glancing over it, saw some interesting things, figure, let's take a look at it together and get some of these questions answered here. It was mentioned at the end of the stream that improvement/work went into bunting this year. Can you elaborate as to what improvements and changes were implemented this year? We made improvements to sacrifice drag bunt specifically. Repeated drag bunt attempts become less effective as the defense becomes more alert and you lose the surprise factor. Huge. Great. Love it. That's something you can definitely ask for and feel like we want that. Yes. How do the control and BB9 attributes affect the par and how easy, difficult, perfect input is to achieve? Two most important attributes that influence pitch accuracy and thus par are BB9 and the individual pitch accuracy for the selected pitch. The most accurate pitchers will have a high BB9 and high control for that selected pitch. It's good to note that generally the average fastballs are more accurate than other pitch types. Yes. Okay. That makes sense. So they're going to play a big role, as expected. So it's going to be harder to execute with Aroldis Chapman just in general, with Josh Hader just in general. Greg Maddux, Mariano Rivera could become pretty disgusting with the pinpoint once you figure it out. So does the change to check swings being based only on user input apply to directional batting as well, since directional otherwise relies on attributes as well as user input? Check swings are user driven on all hitter interfaces, and as far as the main hitting engine goes, you determine the timing of your swing with directional. There you go. Practice seems great, but is it all current MLB teams, or can you play against legends available in Diamond Dynasty? We have 3 legend teams available to choose from when you're entering practice mode. So you can't take your team in there, which would be nice, definitely, but there's still some value to it for me. That would just be like an enhancement, like a sprinkle on top, as opposed to like a core thing. I can get value out of practice just by practicing with, regular teams as opposed to having to have my Diamond Dynasty team. Will other pitching modes be allowed in competitive besides pinpoint, meter, and analog? If so, are the first 3 the only ones that will have the par feature? Par is available on pinpoint, meter, and analog. It's inherent in the pulse pitching, exactly, and is displayed when the pulse circle. Yep. It was already there, which is something that we definitely talked about in stream. So there. Can you explain the timing of the third move, 12-6, in pinpoint pitching? In the video, when Kyle said circles are on top of each other. The first thing you're going to notice is that as you aim your pitch, the arrow and the circle at the bottom move in relation to the ball placement in the zone. This location will be important when finishing your pitching motion. Next, you'll see the pitch preview inside the interface. Each pitch type has a distinct motion that needs to be performed at the same speed as the preview. That's the tough part. Your performance executing this is known as the gesture rating. After you begin your motion, you will see a timing mechanic pop at and the 12 o'clock position where pop up at and the 12 o'clock. Is that weird or am I stupid? Probably me being stupid. You will see a timing mechanic pop up at and the 12 o'clock position where all the pitches will finish. The gears will rotate and begin to close in on one another in an effort to help you keep the right pace when performing the gesture. When it's written out, it seems so hard. It is hard, but it seems like so much harder when it's written out. But once you get into the mechanics of it, I think you'll realize it's doable at least. The ideal timing is when the rings overlap, or it gives you the appearance of just one ring. You may also notice that there's some dynamically colored feedback along with your path to help keep you on pace. Green is good, yellow means slow down, red is failing. Red, hey, you're garbage. Stop doing whatever you're doing. There will be another timing mechanic that looks exactly like the one at the 12 o'clock position that is now in place of where you aimed your pitch in the first step. This mechanic here will help you time your release along with the pitcher's motion. The ideal timing is when the rings overlap, or it gives the appearance of just one ring. You may have noticed some variability in timing, which comes from distinct motion that each pitcher has. Some require you to wait longer, some shorter. So it's really going to come down to finding pitchers you can work with. As part of your final release downstroke, you must aim left or right depending on the target of your pitch. This is rated as direction accuracy. That's going to be so hard. Again, it reads like impossible. I don't think it's impossible, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to learn. Casual mode for DD. Is it just Conquest play v CPU, or can we please use it for moments and showdowns as well? Casual style can also be used in custom leagues. Okay. What affects the timing windows and what causes them to change so frequently from pitch to pitch? First and foremost, timing windows vary depending on the location of the pitch and pitch type. You won't want to swing at the same time on an inside fastball as you would one away. Exactly. Players in real life and in our game have hit tendencies that can be viewed on each player card. Some are great at pulling the ball. Some use the entire... See? And this is the stuff that like makes a card great that we just think is like magic, but it's built into the player attributes of the card. We just focus only on ratings. We don't see like, you know, if they have a heavy pull rating, that can help them with their power. They're going to get on top of stuff. They're going to pull it, send it deep, you know, like Jock Peterson. I know I've been using him as like the go-to example, but he's a card that constantly overplays his ratings because of underneath stuff like this, or maybe not even underneath, just like ignored stuff like this. For example, a pull hitter and the MLB should have slightly increased timing window on early swings and slightly decreased timing window for late swings. Yeah, there you go. Honestly, I hadn't even read that when I basically said the same thing. But that's what can, like, that aspect of a player. That's why I say, you know, with the auto shift thing, that it should be seen as like a feature or a bug of a card. Stan Musial doesn't have a shift. So if you like hitting to that area where the shift is, that's a feature of the card. That's how I see it. I understand that that's not where everyone is, and that's fine. That's what debating and talking about things is for. I love you, Quash. Why does the meter have a smaller par circle than analog? Analog is arguably harder. Meter has a smaller par than analog due to the huge asymmetry between underthrows and overthrows in timing. You're trying to hit perfect accuracy without waiting so long to throw the ball in the dirt. With analog, there's also a timing element that controls the over and under throws, but is not as extreme like meter, inherently because of the interface. There you go. There you go. Will vision matter this year, or will it be not as important like it was in MLB The Show 20? Vision is one of the most integral attributes for a hitter in the show. As higher vision attribute player has, the better they are at reducing swing and misses as well as strikeouts. Yeah, I don't know why people would have thought that it didn't matter at all. I think they're talking about discipline. They mean discipline, but they're asking vision, I believe. I know it was the outer ring of the PCI, and thus we didn't care about it as much. I get that. But I still want somebody with good vision. At the end of the stream, base running was mentioned as being improved but not expanded upon. Can you elaborate as to what was changed and improved in terms of base running? Did the team address community issues with auto base running? We've made improvements specifically when users had multiple runners on base and would attempt to advance all runners rather than targeting, as well as improvements to the way the CPU handles base running duties. For example, a runner was coming home to score from second on a base hit to the outfield where the ball is cut off by the relay man. You already sent your batter on his way to second thinking the throw was going home, and now you recognize the need to send him back or back to first, or he'll be out. Previously, if you hit R1 to send the runner back, yeah, it would send both of them back. And that will no longer be the case. The runner going home will no longer back up. That's massive. So you R1 your way back because they cut it off and they're going to get your hitter going first to second. You might still be out, but you have a chance. But if you hit R1 before, it controls both runners. Now there's going to be like a cutoff point where it's like, okay, they've reached that point. I'm not going back now. I've got an easy run. Has the simulation mode had any additional gameplay balancing to make it more sim than in past years? We're always striving to develop the best baseball sim out there, and just like previous years, we use data from the MLB and internal telemetry data to keep pushing it forward. So the tweaks is what that's saying. Tweaks, small changes. Okay, how exactly do the casual sim competitive modes modify the game differently, and what makes them unique? Each gameplay style. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to kind of highlight here. So casual says, no, it doesn't have to be as realistic. It's going to be more arcadey, I would assume. You can get away with more. Pitching interfaces are easier to perform successfully. Timing windows are larger. Check swings are more likely to be in your favor. You can keep trying to bunt and steal as much as you want. And then there's aids, tutorials, and guest pitch. Simulation kind of is what it is. It's what we've been playing for a bunch. All good. Competitive is all about making the user input the most important factor for our online head-to-head default for a reason. Wherever possible, randomness, win, personalized ump has been removed, and an importance has been placed on mastering the most difficult mechanics as they are the most rewarding. Good input matter more than bad input worse. Good. There you go. I mean, so if you're a great player, you can play better with you can maximize your cards, and you can play better with maybe lesser cards too. Meter gang, stand up. Had the par always been the largest, least accurate on analog pitching, or was that changed this year to differentiate it from pinpoint? Yes, meter has always been more accurate than analog, and was not changed to differentiate it from pinpoint. And you pieces of shit got me to change to analog. I'm just kidding. Should have never made me change. I finally bit into peer pressure a couple years ago. And I blame you guys. Will I take personal accountability? God, no. That's disgusting. Why would I ever do? I'm just kidding. This is what groupthink can do. This is not particularly harmful. Obviously, there are many more ways that groupthink can be harmful, but this idea that it's just inherently better just permeates the community because a few top players were more comfortable with it. Now it's the go-to, and you're a fucking loser if you don't use it, blah, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up. I'm going back to meter tonight. Are you doing away with discipline rating? If not, what does the rating do since it no longer is for check swings? Discipline rating is still a factor for increasing walks and directly influences swing decisions during fast forward and simming. That's what I said. So simming was the main reason. High discipline makes check swings easier to execute and affects the rate of automatically dodging. Okay, so there's still reasons to have those guys. Makes them easier to execute. But you still have to execute. I'm cool with that. If the modes are separate, why was it necessary to change check swings for simulation? I can understand for competitive and inflated DD ratings, but simulation should remain ratings based. I actually kind of agreed with that. I was wondering why the discipline wouldn't still have the big effect on simulation. Whenever possible, we don't do things so differently that what you learn doesn't apply to the next difficulty level or gameplay style. Okay, so when accounting for discipline and check swings, we felt that removing it from the equation, putting the result in the user's hand would be a more rewarding experience. Discipline is still a factor during fast forwards or simming a game. But also executing them, right? Are you going to nerf sinkers and cutters? Having reviewed feedback telemetry data from MLB, we feel confident with how each pitch type will be functioning at release. That said, we are always trying to be mindful of the community sentiment and are always willing to make adjustments where we and the community feel it's most needed. Oh, Detweiler, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Great questions here. A lot of stuff covered. These are awesome. If they're going to do these for everything, we're going to have to make sure that we jump on the next one for fielding. But I like this. This gets into some stuff that we had questions about. And so, you know, I don't know how late this came out, but if it was something that they took the feedback from the chat or from watching streams and Twitter and then made this, that's badass. People think cutters are OP. I don't. It says posted yesterday. Okay, yeah. So they do take some time. I didn't even see that. Good call. I don't find cutters that OP. Like, they work better than ever, but a non-cutting cutter is still the worst pitch in the game. By far. Non-cutting cutter is a home run 117% of the time. Don't ask for the math on that. It's just the truth. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this review of the extended hitting and pitching Q&A. We'll look out for one on the fielding, and we'll definitely cover that if it does come out. Thanks.